Brian Marick. This is a slight spring. I'm using a book called Image and Logic by Peter Gallison as a springboard for some ideas. So I don't actually have a title. Image and Logic is a book which is essentially a history of particle physics, and it will tell you far more than you could possibly want to know about particle physics. But in his analysis of particle physics, and from that his analysis of how science works, or one way science works, Peter Gallison coined the metaphor of a trading zone. When you have two different cultures coming together to trade, and they speak different languages, it's common for them to arrive at a pidgin or Creole language, which is generally some sort of blend of the two, that they use to conduct their business. Now, it's interesting, a couple characteristics of this language. One is it tends to be a fairly simple and restricted language because it's used for a fairly restricted domain of purposes. That is, me going to Jeff from his strange and foreign culture. I don't want to talk to Jeff about his barbaric gods or any of that stuff. I just want to get his goods by the best terms I can arrive at. So it's a restricted language, but it's a restricted language. It deals with highly routinized interactions, but it's still a very flexible language. We can do all sorts of trading in this language. We're not restricted to the use cases that some user experience designer decided we would conduct in trading. It's really a toolkit. And so the way that I envision this as an example of systems is there's this giant space of problems that I want to solve, which is how to get the most stuff out of Jeff or people like him by giving them as little stuff as possible in return. And I have this toolkit of, in this case, words, nouns and verbs, and maybe even adjectives that I can assemble and put together to solve this problem. And one of the things that's been bothering me is how, with system design and the interaction of testing with system design, is how disgustingly and dismayingly unambitious we are for these systems. We want somebody to present us a series of use cases, and we will produce, for the minimal amount of money, a system built in Rails or what have you that will do exactly those use cases. And what we should be doing, in my way of thinking, and this ties to Eric Evans's book, Domain-Driven Design, who coined the term ubiquitous language, a very fine book which, like the Bible, is quoted more than it's actually used, is we should be building systems that are composed of lots of different things that we can put together to solve the kinds of business problems that we are presented with. So rather than building the minimal home banking system, we should be building a toolkit of language that allows us to solve home banking problems so that we have a flexible system. Now, how this ties back to what we're talking about here is somebody used the common phrase under the hood. To do certain kinds of testing, you have to look under the hood. And that is an example, I think, of the problem that we have here, which is we have to look under the hood because we have, as testers, no trading partner to work with. We are sneaking around, we're kind of the rats in the trading zone that are sneaking around, looking around, and not participating in the interactions that we have. There's no common zone of communication. We're not dealing with the programmers as trading partners. We're not working with other people. So what I think the correct solution for the automated test-driven, whatever we're talking about, problem is very similar to Adam's, where we need to create not testing tools that allow us to talk to the system, but we need to create this virtual machine that Adam, wherever he is, was talking about, except that the virtual machine should be the system itself and not a separate thing.